Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake of
technology, but increased, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Master Connector Show. I'm your co-host, Rob Genovesi, and my co-host, Steve Spiro, will be on in just a second. But I want to welcome you all. And if you're just tuning in for maybe the first or second time, understand we're coming at you every Wednesday live, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And we've always got great guests. You're going to want to know who's coming up. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the website right here, masterconnector.show. Go to masterconnector.show. And see all the future shows we have coming up. Steve is always great at getting amazing guests. People who are going to share their experiences, share their expertise, share their skill sets to help you become better at what you do, to excel. You know, we're big on creating community, building connections. In fact, Steve and I, we first met about 26 years ago. Two former shy guys, two introverts, who got into networking, and I'll say I was clueless. I would never say that about Steve. But look, you know, everybody's got a journey. Everybody's got a journey. And, you know, it took me quite a while to get into a place where I was comfortable and even confident talking to a lot of people. I couldn't even talk to you if you were a high school friend and I saw you in the store. In fact, that actually happened. I ran the other way because I was so terrified of talking to people. I couldn't do it. So it took me a long time to be able to get to do that. And, you know, today I'm a brand builder. And I help people build brands. And, you know, it's going to tie right into our guest today because she's amazing. She's going to teach you some good stuff. So I'm going to introduce her in a couple minutes. But I want to bring on the master connector himself, Mr. Steve Spiro. What's up, Steve?
Robbie G, my friend of 20 plus years. How's it going there, sir?
Going great, man. Going great.
Oh, man. I'm pumped to be with you and to be on the show here today. So community, make sure you get in the comments, you connect with each other. You know, this show is for you, right? And here it is, right? Let us know where you're tuning from, the city, the state, the country. All right. And because we don't know, we get a number sometimes and we don't even know who's there. And unless you're in the comments, we don't know you're here. So please acknowledge yourself in the comments. And certainly we want to hear if any questions as we kind of dig into this topic. But what's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. You know, effective communication is the cornerstone of meaningful connections, you know, transcending mere words to create genuine understanding and empathy. You know, to truly connect with others, we must go beyond surface level exchanges and engage in active listening. I love that, right? Just listening and, you know, not listening, you know, connecting and listening to understand versus listening to be understood or to be heard, right? You know, and to truly connect with others, you know, it also means reflecting and responding with authenticity, right? Super important. Big part of the show today is about authentic connection, right? And so this involves not only hearing the words spoken, but also sensing the emotions and intentions beyond them. That's key. That takes some skills. It's taken me a while to kind of get there, right? But I've learned a lot over the years, and I've got some incredible mentors, and I love sharing about this on stage into how to really connect. That's why I'm not the master networker, master connector, right? You know, when we communicate with the intent to connect, we bridge gaps and foster relationships that are built on trust and mutual respect. You know, it's about creating a space where people feel heard and valued, which in turn encourages openness and collaboration, right? This approach transforms interactions into deeper, more meaningful, more impactful connections that can lead to lasting partnerships and support. You know, as someone who speaks on stage about the power of connection, I emphasize how vital it is to master this skill for personal and professional growth. You know, by focusing on connecting through communication, we lay the groundwork for more meaningful and effective relationships. Ultimately, it's through these connections that we can truly understand and inspire one another's. So if you're ready from my man, Mr. Rob G, to introduce our incredible guest today, type in the hashtag in the comments, hashtag let's go. And Robbie G, I'll pass it to you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. All right. So like I said, we have amazing guests coming on the show, and today is no exception. Katherine S. O'Donnell is a dedicated brand visibility coach committed to empowering entrepreneurs. She specializes in enhancing brand presence and attracting ideal clients. She crafts meticulously designed strategic branding initiatives. That sounds intense and awesome, and I love that. With her expertise as a communications consultant, Katherine excels in creating tailored communication strategies that effectively communicate brand messages and engage target audiences. Please welcome to the show, Katherine S. O'Donnell. What's up, Katherine?
Hi. How are you both?
Good. Good to have you.
It's great being here. Thank you so much for having me.
That's awesome. It's our honor to have you on, Katherine, for sure.
Thank
Very
you.
cool. And maybe you'll play on that piano behind you, play some tunes for us.
Oh yeah, I love it. I did
great.
used to play when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
We're a very musical family, so whether I wanted to or not, we would be playing.
I love it.
That's how I knew my wife was the one we were dating, and we were at somebody's house, and they had a piano, and she simply just walked over and started playing, and I was like,
"Oh, that's great."
She started playing some classical piece. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Because we don't have a musical family. There's not a person in my family that can play, sing, nothing.
My mom started to pick up the guitar, and my parents had some relationship stuff. But anyway, as my mom, started learning the guitar, my dad says to her, he says, my mom says to my dad, do you want me to, play anything for you? He said, yeah. Do you know how to, can you play Far, Far Away? But I'm bummed, right? They got divorced not that long after that. But anyway. All right, let's dig into this here. I want to get in deeper. So community, type in hashtag deeper. I want to talk a little bit about what we're really kind of the meat and potatoes of this. So here's the question. How does being authentic in your communication build trust and foster deeper connections? And I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, definitely. So when people tend to be just like what we were talking about in the introduction, where we were talking about something personal for ourselves, that we make ourselves more relatable and we become more authentic so that people feel like, hey, I can relate to that person. Hey, I'm a music person. I come from a music family as well. And it just allows people to feel like they're more connected to you and that they want to be able to get to know you a little bit more, and it builds that trust that a lot of times that everything is so virtual now that it's really hard to get to know people and connect with people.
Absolutely. Yeah. So true. So, and when I talk to people, it's interesting. I had a call yesterday, towards the tail end of the day. And the guy on the call, nice guy, but you could just tell he was like super tight-lipped. Like I said, I'd love to hear your story. And his story was like 3 sentences. And I'm like, that's pretty interesting. He just went pretty much right to his career. And I'm like, so in other words, you got out of the, and I said this with a smile, with hopefully good people skills. So you got out of the womb, and then now you're this. Is that what happened? Well, and the truth is he was expecting the call to be sort of this pitch slapping thing, where I was going to pitch him, and I wasn't. I'm just connecting. And, it's funny, as I shared my story, the barriers came down, right? Because I start to share some of those vulnerable things. And at the end, we were smiling, and he admitted to me that he was a bit guarded because, he's used to getting pitched. So, being able to share, not intimate, more personal things, barriers can come down for sure.
Yeah, I've done the same thing when I first started out. I went full-time business in 2019, and really not knowing how to network, how to connect with people. But sometimes you just have kind of a bent towards things, and I didn't know what to say. So I would simply tell people my story of how I got to be a brand builder. And the story itself, because I didn't start out to be that. I started out as I have a degree in graphic design. I started out as a website and design company. I shifted towards strategic thinking to sell design. And then eventually I discovered brand strategy, which is now my passion, and has been for a bunch of years. But I would just simply tell them a story how I came to do it. And they would always go, wow, what a great story. Now, it's not a great story. I just learned to tell it in a very
Right.
compelling way. It's not
Right.
like it's whoa, but people would remember it. And that was
Right.
the thing, like you were saying, Catherine, that's connecting. You just tell the story.
Well, and also people don't have as much patience as they used to. And so I think a lot of people go into their storytelling as if people don't want to hear it, which is too bad because we all want to hear it. It's just a way of mastering how you tell it. And just like what you were saying, Rob, and it might be more shortened, it might be more succinct, but it really helps to be able to just even when you're networking, tell your story over and over again in different ways so that you can see how your story resonates best with you and with others.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And I think the other thing is how you frame it and how you set it up, right? So,
Mhm.
you know, if you say something to the effect of, "Well, I could best to answer that question by telling you my story, tell you a little bit of my story." I think otherwise people think like, "I just asked him a straight question. He's going in this tangent," right? So you got to
Mhm.
kind of like set it up a little bit. But I love that. So
Yeah.
so the flip side of us speaking is obviously listening, and I want to talk about improve because a big part of the show is self improvement and improving and leveling up our skills. So, community, type in hashtag improve, and I want to ask you this question, Catherine. Can you describe how active listening can improve the quality of your interactions and the strength of the relationships?
Definitely. So, active listening allows you the opportunity to be empathetic, to be compassionate. So, for instance, if you have employees and they're trying to tell you something over and over and in many different kinds of ways, and if you're not listening to them, they're just going to be like, you know what, I'm out. Like, you really need to be able to be empathetic to them, and everybody has something going on. And if they're trying to explain what's going on and nobody's listening, then that makes them feel like they're not heard. And that is really an important factor of communication is if you are trying to speak, you want to be heard and you want people to hear you and to understand where you're coming from. And that's a really important part of active listening.
Let
Yep,
me ask you this,
absolutely.
Catherine, because what you said right there, and so look, Steve and I, like we were saying, did a lot of networking. And I've heard the pitches, I've heard the introductions, I've heard all these things, and I've seen people not get business like at all. And they're going, "Oh, this networking thing doesn't work."
Hmm.
And I'm like, "How do you tell somebody you're not connecting?" Like, what do you do, Catherine, when you see that? I mean, obviously, you hope that people come to you and say, "Hey, look, I'm not really sure how to connect. You're the master. Can you teach me?" But do you ever tell anybody? Can you help somebody who doesn't see it?
Well, there's always a really nice, soft way to be able to share information with people. And so to be able to say, hey, you know what, maybe try this tactic. Maybe that might work better if somebody's saying, hey, I'm not able to connect with people and this networking thing isn't working for me. I mean, we all are put into situations where we're not comfortable. And some of those are networking for people, whether it's in person or it's online, but if somebody's saying, "Hey, it's not working for me," then as experts, if you know how to connect with people, you can easily just say, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And do you feel comfortable? Because obviously, trying something and you wanting to be and feeling comfortable is how you're going to get your message across. If you're not feeling comfortable, if you are sitting in a room and you have to talk in front of thousands of people and you're not feeling comfortable with it, I mean, sure, we all can get butterflies. We can all feel um, worried or concerned right before we go on, but we have to kind of take a little bit of a leap. So there is going to be a little bit of an uncomfortable factor, but you still have to kind of be on that threshold of it's this is going to work for me, and I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to be able to do it successfully, and offer those different types of tactics.
Yep, absolutely. I also find it can be helpful, if appropriate, if you can model it for people, right? You literally, if you have a chance, if it's on the networking world, I've done this with some people. You go to a networking together, and
Mhm.
it's funny because I remember this is, and Rob may have heard this story a while ago, but I was on a networking event with this gentleman who I was, becoming friends with, and we were there, and we went up to, there was speakers, and then afterwards we were going to mingle and network. And one of the speakers he went up to, the speaker asked him, I think first, it might have been second, but he said, "What do you do?" And about 20 minutes later, he was still talking. And uh, I had an opportunity to show him the better way to do it, which
Mhm.
is say like a sentence or two, turn it back to them, and be
Right.
that active listener,
Right.
Um,
And then also, body language too is
yeah,
a really important factor when you are networking. So if you are just standing there with your arms over, like you're closed in, people aren't going to want to approach you. If you've got your hands behind your back, it's the same thing. So being very open and putting your shoulders back and just, feeling more relaxed, taking a deep breath before you go in can make people feel like they can approach you more easily. Um, and then it's also eye contact is really important. Is if someone is talking to you and you're looking at somebody else, well, I mean that doesn't foster this type of connection with people.
yeah, no doubt about it. I know Rob and I share the similar mentor, and we've been around some of the same circles,
Hmm.
and it was incredible. We were in these somebody that we respect would do what's called hold court, where it'd be a whole group of people around them listening. And it was incredible how he would have his eye fixed on one person, and it just felt like he was just nothing else existed. And it was
Hmm.
just pretty impressive to see that. Me, I'm not so, I'm working on that, but because I have a tendency to like, look at everyone around. But I do want to acknowledge somebody real quick. Nathan
Hmm.
Wilson here on who is first time on the
Hi,
show. I want
Nathan.
to I just want to give a little acknowledgement to him. So let's
I
get
lived
this
in
rolling.
Boston for
Yeah. Oh, there you
about
go.
a year. Yep, it was great. It's a
Great.
great city. Beautiful.
Great city for sure, no doubt. Fellow New Englander.
Yeah.
So let's talk about steps. So hashtag steps. So we're kind of getting into this a little bit, right? So what are some practical steps for an individual can take to ensure they're genuinely listening and validating others during that conversation? I know we talked about body language and any other steps that we can kind of talk about. And by the way, Nathan says hi back.
It's about repeating what you've heard too. That can be really helpful so that people feel like, oh, they are listening, they do hear me. But then it's not just about that, it's about the follow-up too. So a lot of times people tend to forget about the follow-up. So if you are at a networking event, you've met somebody, you asked for their business card, follow up with them and just say, hey, it was really great to connect with you. I would love to see if there's any type of partnership opportunities. Have it as kind of a call to action, like a hello and a call to action, like let's meet up on a one-to-one or let's grab coffee. And so those types of steps really can help you not just go to an event, but it's what happens after the event that is really key.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and one thing that I've learned in addition to that, and Rob, I want to hear if you have something to say as well. But it's also, you can validate and repeat back, but don't take over the conversation. So you could say something like if somebody said, about if it happened to come up with parents are divorced, I could say, that I experienced that too, and then boom, right back to them
Mhm.
and ask them a question. So
Right.
validating, relating, but then don't take it over because I've seen other people do the opposite. They take one piece somebody said and then just steal the conversation and don't make it about them.
Right.
But yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good,
that
Rob,
relatability is huge.
for
It
sure.
makes them feel more comfortable actually being vulnerable to you.
It
Yep.
makes me think of some of these really small things that help me increase my networking effectiveness. And, you guys touch on a couple of things. And, when I keep seeing your title, Visibility Coach, Catherine, I think about visibility. And it's what I desired, actually. In my mind, I had this goal of I wanted to be a very highly visible person who was basically new to the circles.
Mhm.
And one of the things I did, number one, was you were saying about acknowledging somebody when they're talking, because nobody wants to be ignored. So like the worst
Mhm.
feeling in the world to be ignored. So validating, say, oh yeah, Steve, I heard your point on that. That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about it this way. And notice I use his name and I just met him. People love that, right? Use
Yeah.
their name right away. And all of a sudden they feel like, hey, this is a friend of mine already.
Right.
But
Right.
the biggest thing that I had to overcome, because I was the fly on the wall, I'm the observer. I
Mhm.
don't participate in conversations, right? That's my hard
Mhm.
wiring.
Mhm.
But one of the things I decided to do was to increase the visibility was if I was in a room and they put us in, groups, or you're in a group and somebody asks a question, my hand would shoot up
Yeah.
like a cannon,
Right.
even though I didn't have an answer formulated in my mind,
Mhm.
because I figured if I get a chance to speak in an authoritative way, like if I know something about that, then people are going to remember the guy who made a good point. And so, like, adrenaline kicks in because, like I said, I wouldn't have an answer. I just hear the question. I'd be like, "Oh,
Right.
can I just, And they'd be like, "Sure, sure. What do you got?" And adrenaline would kick in, and an answer would come out. And look, I don't advise this unless you've listened to a lot of intelligent people talk, read a lot of books, listened to a lot of things. Like Steve and I, again, we were on the similar paths, and so over the years, I've accumulated so much information that I would be able to say something. And you got to say something intelligent. You can't just say, "Yeah, cool." Like say something.
Yeah,
Y-
for sure.
That's a really great point, Rob. It's also just kind of also summing up what people are talking about too. So when you are the first one to raise your hand and just say, "I think this is a great point, and the reasons are," and then start going into the reasons why you think it's a really valid point, or somebody's brought up something that is helpful to kind of reiterate, so that other people can hear it, but from a
Mm.
different voice. And then just say that you're backing it is
I
really
love that.
helpful.
That I
Awesome.
like that idea because similar to Rob, I'm an observer too, and so here's the challenge. Like I know I need because leaders, you read all the self development books. You're supposed to speak up. You're not supposed to be right. And but my kicks in. I just want to observe. I love that, but then my concern is I'm gonna get a little stuck when they call on me. So I love what you just said because then you could validate it, buys you some time to formulate,
Yeah.
and then you kind of boom. So
Right.
I'm gonna steal that. By the way. I want to acknowledge Yolanda, by the way, incredible community member of the team here, and she says it's important to let the speaker finish their thoughts before responding. So we
Hmm.
appreciate you, Yolanda. As always, you're amazing. So hey, there's a buzzword out there. You kind of hear it a lot nowadays. It's almost become cliche, but it's EQ, right? Emotional quotient, right? Versus IQ. And so here's the question. So community, type in hashtag EQ. But here's the question, how does emotional intelligence contribute to managing and responding to emotions in a way that enhances communication?
Yeah, that has a lot to do with body language and tone of voice. So, some people who are more on the emotional side, they can feel more sensitive to a tone of voice. So, I'm going to
Yep.
use job seekers as an example. Is they go in for an interview and somebody has a certain type of tone of voice, and they're like, you know what, I'm not going to keep trying for this job because they obviously don't like me. Their body language was making me feel that way. Their voice was making me feel that way. But on the other hand, it could be that they were really stressed at the time. It could be lots of different factors. So I would say if you are a job seeker, you've been in that type of scenario, don't give up, because those feelings that you might have had could have been a one-time instance, and it doesn't mean that you can't actually get the job, type of thing.
Right. Absolutely. That's great. All right. I want to sneak one in and we're going to wrap up here. So I want to talk a little bit about empathy and then we're going to kind of close down the show here. So hashtag empathy community, right? And we started to allude to some of this, but I mean, being empathetic versus sympathetic, right? And trying to relate to people, right? So what does the role of empathy play in creating a supportive and understanding environment through effective communication?
Yeah, so it allows you to be able to connect with people and make you feel what they're feeling. You're empathetic to whatever they're facing right now, and that makes you feel more connected. That makes them feel more connected, and an opportunity to have more of a solid relationship.
Love it. Love it. Excellent. Well, this is great. I wanna give you some opportunity. Rob, I think we want to throw something at Catherine, right? She
Yeah,
has something
yeah.
to say,
Actually,
right?
look, audience. What Catherine does is incredibly valuable. Like I said, when I started in networking, it was actually my goal. Now I'm a brand builder. I build brands. I do brand strategy. And so when I was networking, what did I want to do? I wanted to get visibility because the hardest thing to do these days on social media, as well as in person, by the way, it's hard to get noticed in a room of 25 people, right? Because everybody's meeting everybody. And so you tend to get lost in the shuffle sometimes. So I was like, I want to be famous in these circles, right? But highly visible. So, this is what Catherine does. So, Catherine, I believe you have a giveaway for our audience.
I do. So anybody that's listening today to the Master Connector, I will give you half off for a one-on-one with me. You could be a job seeker, you could be a business person, solopreneur, you could be a nonprofit and a business. So just make sure that you send me a direct message. I've put my LinkedIn profile on here, and connect with me. Send me a message and just say Master, and I will give you a half off.
Love it. That's great. We appreciate you. Well, we appreciate you having you on the show. You brought some incredible value. Could you tell us the best way beyond, I mean, LinkedIn, obviously, but any other way that the community can reach you? And if there's any closing comments you want to
Yeah,
share with the
thank you.
community?
I'm also on Facebook, and so you can reach me there through OP Creative Communications, OP Creative Comms on Facebook. But yeah, if you are looking to increase your visibility, whether you are a individual, a business, or a nonprofit, and you're just feeling stuck, you need people to be able to find you and to give to you or support you, then contact me. I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Rob G, I'll pass it to you, sir. And Catherine, we just appreciate you. The community loves love what you had to say today. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you for
Thank you for
joining us,
having
Catherine.
me. This has been
Thank
amazing.
you. All right. We'll see you soon. Wow, good stuff. And listen, audience, I'm hearing what Catherine does in terms of visibility. And, whenever I hear her talk about, or anybody talk about stories, stories are very powerful. And Steve wrote his story down somewhat in the form of a book. We want you to be able to read the thoughts of people who have overcome, to win, to succeed, to accomplish. Now, I know Steve will tell you he hasn't hit his goals yet. Few of us have, because we're always setting new ones. That's the key. You hit some goals and you set new ones. But we want you to pick up Steve's book, The Tao of a Master Connector. I'm going to put it in the chat shortly. The way an introvert became a master connector. You want to be a master connector. Now, this means that you're able to walk into any room, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person, and be able to connect with people by gaining visibility and being remembered. So I'm going to put it in the chat now. Pick up Steve's book. I read it. Fantastic book. I appreciate you writing that book, Steve, because people need to know that there's an overcoming story.
I appreciate that. And I know you're at some point got a book you're going to be getting out soon as well. So can't wait for yours. But yeah, listen, it's been great. And, a big part of why I love being on stage is because I have the ability to make an impact and really, you know, value for people. So again, community, we just appreciate you. Thank you. We're glad you're here. That we're here for you. We don't make money on this, but we certainly appreciate you. So make sure tune in next week, August 21st. You're going to get to hear the Steve and Rob show. Okay, we're going to talk about building authentic influence. All right, so it's going to be great. Normally we have a guest on. We wanted to kind of come at you just live and direct, just Rob and I. So we're going to have a great time bantering back and forth and sharing our knowledge and experience. So don't miss it. Go to masterconnector.show for that, as well as if you're interested in sponsoring an episode, go to masterconnector.show and see how that would work for as well. So again, we appreciate everybody. I want to close with a a little bit of a story. I've been doing this lately. So, after losing her job during the Great Recession, Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, Love, turned to writing and shared her personal journey of self-discovery and resilience with the
What? Technical difficulties. Please stand by. I think we lost Steve there for a second. I know he's telling a little bit of a story, but hey, that's live for you. So listen, as Steve said, tune in every single week, Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
And I'm not sure if I'm frozen here, but remember, folks. Okay, I'm back. Boy, I got all frozen out. Is that what happened? Yeah.
Down to time.
Remember. Yeah. Well, just remember, guys. Whatever. I don't know which part you heard of what I said, but remember to communicate, to connect. And when you do share your heart, make sure to always shine your light. See you next week.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives